Hey, how's it going, brothers and sisters? And welcome to part two of our sermon series titled Worship is Warfare. So today we're going to be in Exodus chapter 17, verse 8 through 16. And it says the following. Then came Amalek and fought with Israel and Rephidim. And Moses said unto Joshua, Choose us out, men, and go out fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with a rod of God in my hand. So Joshua did as Moses had said to him, and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass when Moses held up his hand that Israel prevailed. And when he laid down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands were heavy. And he took a stone and put it under him. And he sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands the one side, and the other on the other side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. And the Lord said unto Moses, Write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And Moses built an altar and called the name of it Jehovahnissi, for he said, Because the Lord hath sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. And so, seeing here in this story, we have Amalek, who thought that it was a wise idea to attack a people who literally just came out of 400 years of bondage through a miraculous, events through God. But it didn't stop them from thinking that they could take a plunder from the people of Israel. Pretty bold of them, but not wise. And so later on, we see that they decided to attack the people of Israel, and the Lord gave Israel a strategy as to how they were going to prevail. And so in this, we have Joshua, who is commanded to put together a team to go and be prepared to fight against the people of Amalek. And then Moses himself was about to go on a hilltop, and bringing with them, he had two people, that is Aaron and Hur. And in this scenario, we see that as Moses continued to keep his hand lifted up with the rod of God, the people of Israel prevailed. But the moment that his hands began to descend because he was tired, we see that Amalek was gaining the advantage in the battle. And so his two friends, well, the two people that accompany him, Aaron and Hur, they were able to support Moses in this endeavor by putting a rock under him so he can sit on it, and then each one holding up the hand of Moses until the going down of the sun, to where Joshua defeated Amalek once and for all. And so as a result of it, what Amalek thought that, well, they dared to do, the Lord has declared to write this in the memorial that from generation to generation, Amalek would be at war with the Lord, and the Lord would defeat him and blot their names out. Like, the Lord was definitely not pleased by what Amalek, the people of Amalek, thought that they can do against the people of Israel. So what is the spiritual meaning that we can get from this, right? So we got the historical context. The spiritual meanings I want to convey to you is the following. First, you see that when it comes to warfare, there's two ways that this battle, well, two directions that this battle is being fought, right? Two angles. You had Joshua, who was down with the people, and then they was going, ground to ground, eye to eye, foot to foot with the enemy. And then you had Moses, who was called to a hilltop to establish a different vantage point. What is important about this vantage point is that this pulled Moses away from the chaos, away from the distraction, away from the mooring that was going down. So this way he can clearly have his attention on God. And upon putting his attention on God and the raising up of his hands in worship, we saw that the people of Israel began to prevail against Amalek. See, in our lives today, there is the spirit of Amalek that seeks to wage war against the people of God. So it doesn't matter if you are a peaceful person in Christ. It doesn't matter if you seek peace, and if you're living in a state of peace. This spirit of Amalek will always seek to wage war against you, will always seek to have a battle with you to take that from you in which the Lord gave you. And the spirit of Amalek rests in this person, Satan, right? Who is always seeking to steal, kill, and destroy. And the hand of Moses is the rod of God. And so when we look back at the beginning of Moses' ministry, you remember how he didn't want this calling. He didn't want to be this mighty deliverer. He came up with any and every excuse that he can to tell the Lord that he was not qualified for this. But at the end of the day, the Lord got his way, as it will always be when it comes to the God of all things. But he had compassion on Moses nonetheless. He sent with him his brother Aaron and also gave him the rod of God. And so the thing to remember is that the Lord didn't need a rod to be able to do these signs and wonders and miracles through Moses. But Moses had a faithless issue. He wasn't strong in his faith to believe he can do this nonetheless. So this rod of God that the Lord gave to Moses became a point of contact to remind Moses that the Lord indeed was with them. Sometimes in our life, we need something tangible to hold on to remind us of a spiritual message, of a spiritual theme that the Lord is doing in our life. So, in the Lord giving Moses this rod, it was to remind him and give him a means to connect with God, so that he knows that he is not alone in the mission and the assignment that he was called to do. And when we take the spiritual message behind this rod, it's a representation of our faith. Because as Christians, we don't walk around with a rod of Moses to do the great acts of God, but we walk with our faith. So the rod of Moses is our faith. And as we begin to do what Moses did, as we begin to lift our faith up towards the Lord, lifting the name of God up, praising him, worshiping him, we begin to gain the advantage over this spirit of Amalek that is seeking to come against our life, come against our family, come against our health, come against our finances, you name it. But in the weariness of the battle, we can sometimes find that our faith is weakened. And in the weakening of our faith, this is when the enemy tends to have an advantage over our life. Now, that's why it is important to know when you go into the spiritual battle, when you go into these warfare, you are not called to do these things alone. Because Moses ensured that he went up there with Aaron and Hur to help him in the spiritual warfare. So we are called, brothers and sisters, to have a tribe that we can lean on, a tribe that we could depend on, that when the going gets tough, when things are hard and our faith begins to waver, that they can be the ones to hold up our hands towards the Lord so that we can continue to have faith and believe and continue to worship him in this battle until it is won. And so with that being said, remember how in the Gospels, the Lord says that when 2 or 3 comes in his name, there he is in the midst of us. Because you see that ushering of the presence of God is when God begins to activate in a mighty way in our very situation. So as intercessors, because this is what Moses was doing, when he was up at the hilltop, he was in a posture of intercession. As intercessors, it is always important that we have a tribe that we belong to. And if you are a leader of your household, then you are called to be the one to bear the rod of God, to bear the faith before the Lord in intercession and in a posture of praise unto God on behalf of your family. Because when you as a leader bear the rod of God, you are making a way for your family to be able to fight the many battles that they go through personally against the spirit of Amalek and prevail. And as family members, we are called to be just like Aaron and Hur, to support who's been appointed to be the bearer of the rod of God, so that they can continue to be in this posture of intercession and prayer and covering for the family. So this way we can prevail whenever Amalek seeks to come and take a plunder from us. And then when it comes to our churches, we cannot forget about the intercessors. You see, the Moses in this example, he was the general in this situation, while Joshua was like a lieutenant down in the ground. So as generals, as intercessors in the church, their place is called to the hilltop. Their place is called to the high vantage point to intercede for the Joshuas who is in the likeness of your pastors, your preachers, your teachers, your evangelists, you name it, is that they are in this posture of being in there at the ground level with the people fighting this battle. Having your intercessors to intercede is how we see battles are won. And so therefore, what is the call to action, brothers and sisters? Like, what is the bottom line about this story when it comes to worship as warfare? Is that we are called to be a people to know that we each have the rod of God in our life. That rod of God is our faith, and is by that faith in which we do wonders. It is by that faith in which we wage war against the spirit of Amalek, and in lifting our faith up to God in all of our situations, sitting in a higher vantage point than the war that is happening below us. This is the key for us to gaining the victory. So now this is a time to start looking at your life, looking at my life, looking at our lives, and identify the spirit of Amalek that is in the midst. And identifying the spirit of Amalek, we begin to take the rod of God, which is our faith, and lift it up to the Lord, petitioning for the Lord to come down and act on our behalf, to come down and give us the victory over the enemy that seeks to come and steal, kill, and destroy. So that's all I have for you, brothers and sisters. And I pray that you was blessed by the hearing of this word. Until next time, God bless.